Yo, what's going on, boys? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to another YouTube video. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at one of the best weapons expansion and also one of the most unique ones, because we're going to be taking a look at the very first rocket assist pulse rifle, the Mint Retrograde. And after playing with this for a couple of days, I gotta tell you, this thing is insane. It does everything. And if I was only to pick one weapon that you should go out and get this week, it should be this one. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the perks that you can get on this weapon, what are some of the best ones, what are some of the best combinations, and also what are the god rolls that I think that you guys should be looking for on this weapon. And at the end, we'll have a mini review where I just talk about the things that I like or dislike about the weapon, and I'm just going to be completely honest right out the gate, it's probably just going to be me glazing the weapon for a few minutes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you do, remember to like and subscribe to the channel in case you guys aren't already for some more videos like this, as well as a bunch of builds. And now let's get into it, and first let's talk about just what makes this weapon special. And the very first reason is because of the frame of the actual weapon. This is the very first rocket assisted pulse rifle. It seems like Bungie probably saw the success of the rocket assisted sidearms and decided to expand it to the pulse rifles. And one really cool thing about this weapon is, since they are projectiles, those 3 rockets that you shoot with one trigger pull, you can actually move your aim in the middle of the burst and actually hit multiple enemies with just one burst, which is pretty cool, especially because some of those smaller enemies definitely will not take multiple rockets to kill. And those rockets do a lot more damage than I expected, and it turns out that this thing actually puts out some really good special weapon damage. So this weapon won't just be an clear weapon, it will also be able to put in damage as well. So that just kind of adds even more functionality to this weapon. And you're going to be able to get your hands on this weapon from the pinnacle ups. Any of the activities in here will have a chance of dropping the weapon, and if it's one of those feature rewards, then you'll have a guaranteed chance of getting the weapon. And that's where you're going to be farming this pulse rifle from. This pulse rifle also comes with 2 different origin traits. Vanguard Determination, which is the new Vanguard perk. After using your class ability, final blows with this weapon will give you damage assistance. This is an okay perk, use some free damage assistance. But the other perk I think is a little bit better, and is called Problem Solver. Whenever you deal sustained damage to a champion, mini boss, or boss, it exhausts them and it grants this weapon increased handling and reload. And whenever you exhaust a target, it's similar to severing them. They essentially get their outgoing damage reduced, so they're less likely to kill you. And this is kind of like the perfect perk for this weapon, since these are basically the enemies you're going to be fighting most of the time. Those champions, those mini bosses, the bosses, being able to apply this without requiring sever just makes this weapon even more amazing than that already was. There's just so much on this weapon, I'm telling you, it can just do everything. But now let's move on and let's take a look at the most important part of any weapon. Let's take a look at those trade perks. We're gonna have a quick overview of all of them, and then we're gonna go a little bit more in depth into some of the best ones, since I know that's what you guys are looking for. And after that, we'll go over some god rules so you guys know exactly what to look for. So let's not waste any time, let's get into it, and let's take a look at the very first trade perk. Now these are the options that we have for the very first trade perk. We have beacon rounds, rewind rounds, recycle energy, hatchling, stats roll, and lastly MBS arsenal. And we have a lot of good different options right here. So let's start from the very top, and the one that I think is the best one, rewind rounds. When this weapon magazine is empty, it will refill from reserves based on the number of hits. Basically, you can just shoot the weapon for longer without having to reload. And this is going to be amazing when dealing with some of those bigger enemies, the bosses, the champions, the mini bosses, all of those. It means that you don't really have to stop to reload. You can just keep firing this weapon, putting some more bullets into your magazine. So instead of having to reload multiple times to get through all your ammo, you're probably just going to have to reload once. It's going to be an amazing perk on this weapon, and you can never go wrong with rewind rounds. You also have MBS arsenal on this weapon, and while it's a little bit more niche than rewind rounds, if you're doing weapon swapping, this may actually end up being the better choice of the two. And if you're thinking of taking bait and switch as your perk on the second slot, then MBS arsenal just pairs up perfectly with that perk. So it's a little bit more niche, but it's also still very strong. We also have hatchling on this weapon. You want to go just all in and clear with this, that's also an option you have. And the final perk that I want to talk about is going to be stats for roll. Whenever you hit 3 separate targets, it will increase the weapon's handling, stability, reload speed, and range for 10 seconds. This one is another one of those niche perks, but that works really well with a perk on the second perk slot. So this is also going to be an option if you decide to go that route, and you know that second perk is one for all. But Any of these 4 perks I think are going to be very good on this weapon, but I think the main 2 really are going to be MBS Arsenal or Rewind Rounds. Now this is the perks that we have for the second trade perk. We have Bait and Switch, Chain Reaction, Slice, Elemental Honing, Master of Arms, and lastly One for All. And we actually have a lot of good choices right here. I could actually see any of these perks being good, except maybe Slice, since we have like built-in Slice essentially, so maybe that's a little overkill. But any of the other perks I think would be pretty good. But let's start off with Chain Reaction. Every time that we get a final blow with this weapon, it creates an elemental explosion. This is going to give you even more ad clear. The one that I was using, and the one that you'll probably be seeing in the background gameplay, is one with Chain Reaction, and my god can it ad clear. It already is very good at ad clear with its multiple rockets, but this just takes it to a whole another level. And I think Chain Reaction is probably one of the best perks that you can get on this weapon. Now the rest of the perks that we're going to be taking a look at are going to be damage perks that you apply to different situations. The first one is going to be Bait and Switch, the big 30% damage increase. If you're trying to do boss damage with this weapon, this is more likely the perk that you're going to go for. Big damage buff, very easy to proc, and doesn't really require anything complicated. You just shoot all your weapons and then you get a big 30% damage increase. Now another one can be Elemental Honing, which is overall a bigger damage increase than Bait and Switch, but it is a lot more niche because it requires you to hit something with every element. So maybe you want to keep a roll with this whenever you have Prismatic and you know that you can really stack up that Elemental Honing, but most of the time you're not really going to be able to take advantage fully of Elemental Honing, so it's usually better to use Bait and Switch. And if you're looking for a damage perk that's not for boss damage, then we have 2 with Master of Arms and One for All. One for All is going to be a very easy to proc, big damage perk at 35% damage increase for 10 seconds when you hit 3 enemies. And since there's a rocket pulse rifle, hitting 3 enemies is very easy, so you're going to be proccing this thing super easy. Now the other one's going to be Master of Arms, which is not as high as One for All. It is only at 25% at 2 and at 15% at 1. But the good thing about Master of Arms is that because of the way the perk works and how it like downgrades itself and then you just keep upgrading it, the uptime of this perk is actually insane, and as long as there's like one enemy around, you're going to be able to keep this thing going for such a long time. But both of these are going to be pretty solid choices if you're trying to get a bit of extra damage so you can maybe clear some of the majors, but you're still mostly focusing on ad clear. And those are the perks in the second trade perk of this weapon. Just absolute bangers. They have so many good options right here. So now let's talk about some god rolls and the ones that you should be looking for. And let's start this off with the Rewind Rounds plus Chain Reaction. This is just amazing. The ad clear that you get from Chain Reaction, the not having to reload because of Rewind Rounds, it's just gonna be such a good roll for this weapon. Whether you're dealing with bigger enemies, with ads, you're gonna be able to deal with everything very effectively. And before we move on to anything, let me just tell you that Rewind Rounds really works with everything. If you want to pair it up with Bait and Switch, you want to pair it up with Master of Arms, One for All, it's going to work with literally everything. It is just such a nice universal perk that you can never go wrong with Rewind Rounds. Now another good roll is going to be the MBS Arsenal Bait and Switch combo. This is just a really good combo. Both of the perks are basically made for each other. As you're when you damage with your other weapons, you're going to proc Bait and Switch as well as reload your magazine. If you're going to be doing some weapon swapping and incorporate this into your rotation, then this is pretty much like the roll that you want to go for. And the last roll that I want to highlight is going to be One for All plus Stats for All. Just like with the last roll, both of these perks have the same activation requirement. You hit 3 enemies and you get the benefits from both of those perks for 10 seconds. So you're going to have damage, reload, stability, handling, all for 10 seconds. And it's super easy to proc again. When you run out, I'm sure that not even a couple of seconds will go by before you activate this again. It is just going to make the weapon feel very good and very powerful with a 35% damage increase. And the final perk that I want to bring your attention to is going to be Chain Reaction plus Hatchling. This is really going to go just all in on that clear. The explosions from the Chain Reaction will be able to trigger Hatchling as well, so you'll be able to make even more Hatchlings. And those are the interesting rolls that I think that you guys should be going for on this weapon. Like I said, if you have anything with Rewind Rounds, it'll probably be good. But let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think about this weapon? What is the god roll you're going to be hunting for? Or maybe you already got. And now, let's talk about the weapon, and I'm just going to keep it short. is probably one of the best weapons in the expansion. Whether you're trying to deal boss damage, deal with some of those bigger enemies, do ad clear, no matter what you throw at this weapon, it's gonna be able to do it. It is just such a good weapon, and if Bungie keeps giving us rocket weapons like these, I don't know if anybody else is gonna use anything else, because these things have been just crazy strong. So yeah, it's pretty safe to say that I'm a very big fan of this pulse rifle, and whenever another one is released, you know I'm gonna be there immediately to farm it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, hopefully you guys liked it. Let me know what you guys think about the weapon once again in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care everyone, have a good rest of your day. Peace.